This is Pastor Bob, and welcome to Pastor Bob Daily. I'm in front of Dave Ramsey's headquarters right here, and it's called Financial Freedom Plaza. Dave, as you know, many of you know, talks about financial freedom. He's a Christian and talks about getting out of debt and living without the worries of debt and compounded interest on things we buy and all of those things. And he's got a great radio show and a great ministry. And that's kind of what I want to talk about today as well. You know, I'm a huge advocate for downsizing, for living within your means. And I just want to talk about that a little bit more today, because I think some of you continue to struggle. I keep getting mail from people that say, you know, Pastor Bob, I don't know how we're going to pay our bills. And then I ask them to explain their bills, and they've got 2 car payments for new cars. They have a house payment that's way out of range, and they have all this stuff. And both mother and father work, and children are being farmed out to people to take care of them, to babysit. And really, the thirst for things and for accumulating stuff almost takes the place of families. And a lot of families suffer because parents are always working and there's just too much emphasis on stuff. I want to encourage you today that nothing's more important than your family. If you're not married today, this is a good time to live within your means, begin the practice of doing it. Don't get into debt, and begin to live financially free. Now, there's a couple things I'd like to recommend. There are 2 things that people buy, and they spend a lot of money for. One is housing, and the other one is their car, their automobile. And some of you listen in other countries where an automobile isn't real important. Here in the United States, especially Nashville, it's difficult to get around without it, so you kind of need some transportation. But people go out and they spend a lot of money, and they buy a brand new car, and they pay, a little bit of money down and a lot of money every month, and they end up paying sometimes almost twice as much for the car because they pay it off in a few years, and they have to pay all the interest charges, and it just isn't worth it. My last few cars I've bought used. They've been great cars. Somebody just broke them in for me. And this car that my iPad that I'm filming this with, that's sitting on, is 13 years old. It's still doing fine, and I put a new transmission in it, so now it's better than ever, and it'll last me for a lot longer. And some of you are doing that as well, but some people say, well, there's some things that are starting to go wrong with it, and it's just time to get a new car. And I think, man, even a transmission is a whole lot cheaper than buying a new car. But we get into that kind of debt, and so I always say, start a car fund. Just start it. If you can put $100 a month in it, at the end of the year you have $1,200. You let that accumulate for 4 or 5 years, and you have really a pretty decent used car. And if you do that all the time, and you sell your old car, you'll always have enough to pay cash, and there'll never be a problem with getting stuck with the car and no means to get a new one. And you can do the same kinds of things with a lot of other expenses. Just make sure that you save for it, that you plan for it, that you expect it. Some people get a car and they expect it's going to last them the rest of their lives. That's not going to happen, so plan for it. And other things you can plan for, and live within your means. Folks, it seems like these days people want bigger and better. People are moving from one house to another because the old house isn't big enough to hold all their stuff. My solution? Just get rid of stuff. Downsize. You don't need much space. You'd be a lot happier without all of that. And sometimes the bigger the space, the more the headaches. Well, they're just a couple of suggestions. But, folks, let me just encourage you that be responsible financially. You really need to live within your means and take that weight off your shoulders that so many of you have of trying to accumulate and trying to keep up. Let it go. Live within your means, do what you can, and begin to live debt-free. Well, That's just my suggestion for the day. God bless you. Have a great day.